Thank you. Would like to introduce myself. My name is Vanita Ahuja. I'm a surgeon at York Hospital, which is part of WellSpan system, and I'm a hospital employee now, finishing the 4th year. I would like to introduce Dr. John Castronova. It's my joy to introduce him. He was actually the one who hired me and walked me through my first contract, and he gave me the best piece of advice is to go talk to a lawyer before I signed the first contract. Since then, he was the chairman, and now he's the vice president of the surgical service line. Thank you, Dr. Castronova.
You're very welcome.
I would just like to ask a couple of questions from a surgical service line perspective.
Sure.
We'll have legal help with the contracts and negotiation. What are some of the different contracts? Is it most of them RVU based, and then there's the compensation on top of it? Are you able to maybe tell us?
I think so. I think nowadays most contracts are going to have a base,
Okay.
And then they're going to have a productivity component. And the way a physician or a surgeon's productivity is measured is with RVUs.
Okay.
There are large organizations that know the 50th percentile productivity level for a given medical specialty, including general surgery.
Okay.
That might be 4,000 or 5,000 RVUs per year. There's a certain dollar rate that's paid for each RVU, so that the hiring entity can determine roughly what the ballpark compensation is going to be. That's also referenced in things like MGMA,
Okay.
Sullivan-Cotter data, which is available, which is a guide for residents in determining whether the compensation is fair. In WellSpan, we're looking to match the 50th percentile compensation level and the 50th percentile of productive work. It's not unreasonable for a new hire to have a couple of year period of guarantee. Whatever those two components work out as, in terms of a dollar figure, is guaranteed no matter what the productivity level is at first.
Okay.
On the theory that any new doc needs to build a referral base and get their feet under them to get to a plateau of productivity.
Okay.
The other thing individuals are going to find is that there's a compensation or incentive, dollar incentive for quality. So the extent to which they work toward improving the practice or the department generally, the health system's goals in terms of patient experience, quality, or safety, is also going to be incentive and be a third part of their compensation agreement in all probability. I think that an area that requires some scrutiny is the terms of separation.
Okay.
What is going to happen if one party or the other decides it's time to separate, they want to dissolve the contract? This portion of the contract often includes a piece about a restrictive covenant.
Okay.
The whole idea of restrictive covenants is one that graduating surgical residents should do everything they can to understand.
Okay.
Basically, this is going to prevent them from working in a certain area or be a legal barrier to that. It's a legal barrier that's often successfully challenged. The situations in which it can be successfully challenged or not enforced very easily, and those in which it's going to present real difficulties, are the reasons why someone should know going in.
Okay.
What are the elements of that type of negotiation, that
Okay.
type of situation? Why is it being asked for? What would happen if the individual as an employee of a group or an institution actually separated? The other is whether it's going to be a matter of simply giving notice, separation for cause, separation without cause. These are all portions of that part of the employment agreement that need to be fully understood. I think they are technical enough that that's an area where an individual's attorney can be very helpful
Okay.
in advising
Okay.
them of specifically that. And the best way to understand them is to envision various scenarios.
All right.
Suppose this happened. Suppose I wanted to do this. Suppose they said this.
Okay.
And then you play that out with the advice of an attorney, and you begin to understand what the language in the contract means.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Amy Nelson. I'm the Associate General Counsel for WellSpan Health, and I'm happy to speak with you today.
All right. So Amy has been educating our new graduates on business of medicine, what to look at contracts, and she's here to provide some education to me from what I'm hearing and to you, so we can all benefit from her learnings. What about leave? Because a lot of us physicians, we have to do CME credits, we still need our leave balance. How does that usually play into their contracts?
Well, again, each employer is going to be different, but it's another important caveat to look at in the contract. So you should know how much time you're likely to have off, and some places will call it PTO or paid time
Okay.
off. Other people might call it STO or scheduled time off, which means that you're not really getting paid if you're on a productivity model and you're not there. That's really what we call scheduled time off, because you're not being paid. So even though you might have a draw that pays you while you're off, it's really not earned income if you're going to have to true up that draw with your productivity at the end. So it's important to know that. It's also important to know who's going to pay for your CME. Is there a cap on it? Many places will put a cap on it, and so you'll have to know, will I be able to cover all of my continuing medical education credits with that cap, or will I have to pony up some of my own money to pay for my CME? Same thing with journals and other societies that you might join. It's good to know. Again, every employer is different, but it's good to know when you go into your employment situation what costs are going to be yours and which ones your employers will bear.
Well, just last question. This is for surgeons? If they need extra training or they want to do any extra training, how is that? Is that usually part of contract, or they usually have to work it out?
That is going to vary by situation. So if, regardless of the specialty, if you want to get additional training, you should talk to your employer about that before you sign the contract, so that
Okay.
you'll know what their expectations are. Many places will be happy to provide the training if they think it's going to benefit their practice to have you have that additional training.
Right.
It's going to bring in additional revenue, but you ought to know that going in. If they really are just looking at you to be a workhorse and they want you to come in and just do whatever it is they need you to do, and you have aspirations of developing specialty, your goals might be different. So it's important to have that discussion with your employer before you start.
Any last words of wisdom for the new graduates?
Make sure you understand the kinds of situations that you want to work in, and take your time to find an employer that will give you the right situation. If you're not happy or you've got doubts about it going into the employment relationship, chances are it won't get better while you're there. So look for an employer that you feel comfortable with, whose values you believe are aligned with yours, and look for a place that you think will feel like a place that you want to show up and work at every day.